A very warm welcome to you once again. As you can see, we are continuing with our 2024 Sociology series. In this today's videos, I will be discussing with you question number 2, the part A that we are having. So let's get straight to the point. Uh, the first question that we are having is differentiate between Western and Indological perspectives of studying the Indian society, bring out the major aspects of Ghure's contribution to Indological approach. And if we take a look, this question is directly coming from our paper 2 that we are having. And in that we see the Indian thinkers, that is Introduction to Indian Society. And who is the father of Indian sociology? That is basically G.S. Ghure. So something from G.S. Ghure's approach of studying the Indian society, that is called as Indological approach. First, let me explain you what is exactly the question all about. There are different ways of studying the Indian society. One method is called as Indological approach. Then there is something called as a centric approach, Western sociological approach, historical approach, comparative methods are there, ethnographic methodologies are there. In all these methods, there is one popular approach which has been the first approach used by G.S. Ghure, Govind Sadashiv Ghure. He has used something called as Indological approach. The examiner is asking, how do you differentiate these two terms, Indological and Western approach? So what you will be writing is, in the introduction part, you need to first of all define what are these two approaches. When Indian society was studied during the British time, largely there was a Eurocentric approach that was associated with that. It means, what is the meaning of Eurocentric? It is nothing but considering Europe as the central axis of the society, they are trying to understand what is an Indian society. So they will tell that this is a traditional society, this is an outdated society, earlier religion is more dominant. So the European culture is considered as a central axis. In relation to that, the Indian society is being explained. So I will be talking about what is the meaning of the word Western approach. So Western approach is largely introduced during the British period. It is a Eurocentric approach. On the other side, there is an approach in which we are trying to study the Indian society. This is largely called to be as an Indological approach. And what is the meaning of the word Indological approach? We try to understand on the basis of religious texts, written kind of language, or the aspects of manuscripts. So the main primary introduction you are going to provide is what is the meaning of Western view, what is the meaning of Indological view. Is there any popular sociologist who is associated with Western view? Yes, there is William Jones who has done that. And is there any of the popular Indological view that has been provided? Yes, I know G.S. Ghure is a popular view, but let me tell you, Louis Dumont is also considered as a popular Indologist. So William Jones as a Western sociologist, Western Indian sociologist, tried to bring a Eurocentric approach during the British period. Louis Dumont is a French sociologist. He has used Indological method. What is the meaning of Indological method? We try to understand with the help of texts, manuscripts, written evidences. This is largely present in the post-independent period. Then, when I come to the main content part, what am I supposed to do? I need to bring some kind of a tabular differentiation, because the key word that we are having over here is what is the differences. So at one area, I will be providing what is the meaning of the word Indological view. On the other hand, what is the meaning of Western view. So taking a look, if we compare both of these phenomena, Western perspective is largely trying to bring a Eurocentric approach. And here, Indological view is trying to bring an Indian-centric approach. So one primary difference is this phenomena is largely Western-centric. This phenomena is largely considered to be as Indian-centric. So Western-centric view, Indian-centric view. Here the meaning of the word Western-centric can also be written as Eurocentrism. And here this is considered to be as Indicentrism. This is a way I'm trying to say the same point but in a different way. Where did it start? Basically, this Western view. Emile Durkheim, Auguste Comte, Max Weber, some of the early sociologists they were associated. On the other hand, Indian view has been associated as sadhuistic view. Indian texts are being explained, etc. So, what methodologies are being used? Here we get to see largely there is a rational, logical, and a practical tools are being used. On the other side, here we consider traditional cultural views are being highlighted. That's one way of looking at it. What is the main primary focus in the West, in the Indological view? Sorry, this is going other side. So here the Western view should come over here. This point is supposed. So Western view is largely Indologic, or better to just if I make this as Western, this as Indian. So Western views are Western centric, Eurocentric, rational empirical. Indian views are Indian centric, traditional cultural. Those phenomena are being highlighted. On the another hand, is there something like a critic that we can provide? Yes, the criticism that we are having is sometimes we get to see they try to glorify. Yeah. Sometimes what is the problem that we are having? One criticism that I can provide is in the Western view, largely they consider European view as the central culture. Any other culture, it is looked as secondary or it is looked beyond the European. Another criticism is we are having is here in the Indian view, we try to glorify the sacred books. So that is like a criticism, glorification of the past, etc. Those phenomena are being explained. So the first half of the question is, let me just put up like this. What is the first half of the question? The first half is this. Differentiate between Western ideological perspectives of studying the Indian society. That is one. Bring out the major aspects. Now the second part. So here differentiation is the first part. What is the second part that we need to highlight? The second part, it is asking about what is the contributions that has been made by G.S. Ghurye in the case of Indian society. So one important contribution is he has relatively focused on the Indian racism. And what is Indian racism? This is his thesis topic. He wants to study the caste system. Another important topic that he has associated himself is to study the phenomena of tribal societies. He has also oriented himself in studying the aspect of Indian nationalism. On the another, we credit Ghure in the phenomena of studying rural society is mixed with urbanization. He has given the term called as rurbanization. So, what is going to be my conclusion? I will be telling that Western view plus Indian view, it is important to study the Indian society. Western view is trying to establish a West or a Eurocentric opinion. Indian view is trying to establish an Eastern or a local centric. So Western view is considered to be as global view of studying the society. Indian view is important to study the local view. When we bring the global plus local view, this phenomena will establish the concept called to be as globalization. So these phenomena are called to be as uh, these phenomena are called to be as the aspect of globalization. And not to forget, Ghure is considered to be as one of the most important contribution. He is known to be as the father of Indian sociology. So let me just recall what are the parts that we are having. We are having one introduction that we have provided. Next, we have provided the content in which we bring some differentiations, and then we also highlight Ghure's contribution, and then not to forget we also provided a conclusion as well. So that's it in our today's question. Tomorrow we'll try to look at the next question.